Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We're cutting up in the kitchen today, but I have a special guest, Lauren Wills, and she is an RN, and she's here to get us straight about health and what we should look for when we're out selecting our foods to eat. And without further ado, Lauren Wills, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
I'm always telling the viewers about what to eat healthy and everything, but you are actually a registered RN. Can you tell us about what you're doing in the public health industry?
Sure. I'm a public health nurse, and I am the health advisory nurse for Freedom 101 Health and Family Development in their diabetes self-management program.
Well, so tell me, what is going on with diabetes and health, and can you help us help the viewers on how to select the proper food, when we're shopping?
Well, diabetes is among one of the top chronic diseases amongst all peoples right now, and especially in low-income areas. And it's a very detrimental disease because it's a disease of the vessels. So it doesn't only, affect your blood sugar, but it also affects your heart, your vision, your kidneys. So we have to make sure to stay on top of that. And the biggest way to prevent that, because primary prevention is what public health is about, is our diet. So what we like to tell people is, how to eat, because a lot of people don't know how to eat. They may think that, eating soup in a can is healthy when actually it has so much sodium, so it's so much better to cook fresh foods or desserts, or how to fix their plate where they may have vegetables, but they just have a very small portion of vegetables, and then they have a lot of meat and a lot of starches and the wrong types of starches. So we like to focus a lot on that with clients when we're trying to help them.
So do you find opposition is because people are used to their own way of eating and they're not willing to accept when the doctors say you have to change?
You know what? I have a problem with that because I feel like it's not that people aren't willing to accept it. I feel like they don't know. And what you don't know, you can't do.
I think that's a good approach. But in fact, I know, as well as our next guest, Ms. Thomas, and I know she's a specialist as well. And from previous shows, I do know that, for example, our seniors, change is tough, but it's okay when the guy in the little white jacket says, you got to stop eating salt, you got to stop this and that. But when an individual from a loving perspective, Mom, you really have to cut down on, oh, well, I've lived this long. So it's really a challenge to overcome certain objectives. But, I have here an example. Can you tell us about what I have here on the table?
Sure.
That would be instrumental, and we have lentils, black beans, and red beans.
So this is a great example of good carbohydrates and fiber, which is a big part of your nutrition, especially for diabetics, because our carbs are what we break down into sugars, and that's how we get our energy. But if it's bad sugars that we're breaking down, then it's going to cause a lot of harm.
How do we quit?
How do we quit?
I'm working on, I do really well with vegetables. I am a healthy eater, less meat, but boy.
Do you love your sweets?
Oh my God. I actually have a Jones, and I do okay because I'll go with a Greek yogurt, or I'll have some natural sweets, and I keep fruits, and my mangoes, they satisfy me.
Right.
But I don't know how to just, if you go cold turkey, won't you go in the coma?
But that's the whole thing. Our bodies are all about balance. So we don't have to go cold turkey. We don't have to quit, the sweet stuff. It's just a matter of what kinds of sweet foods we're eating and, how we're preparing them and what we're using to prepare those sweet foods. Because there's a lot of sweet and good and delicious, healthy
It really is. And we talk about it on the show. And I know we're not going to have enough time, but we're going to try to have Lauren back so that she could really help us. She is a nurse, and you're faced with, when you're dealing with the public, if you can prevent people from chronic disease, what's one thing would you tell them?
To prevent them from chronic disease?
In terms of what they put in their mouth, because, correct me if I'm wrong, chronic disease is a result of free radicals running amok on your organs?
Exactly, because your body's just gone through so much trauma, and you've just put so many bad things into your body that it just kind of starts to shut down. So the main thing is I would tell people that we're trying to prevent you from a lifetime of hurt. Right. And we're trying to add years onto your life. You can live a long time with diabetes, but what quality of life will you have with that condition? You can live a long time with congestive heart failure, but again, what kind of quality of life would you have with that? You want to be able to live and enjoy your family and still go out and walk and not have neuropathy so your feet are, no good, or you get amputations because you have poor circulation throughout your body.
So is neuropathy a result of poor eating habits?
Yes,
or
it's years and years of accumulated sugar buildup on your vessels. And so it starts to damage the nerves. And the reason why that buildup of the sugar is occurring on the vessels is because you're not regulating and controlling those things well. So it doesn't have any place else to go but the vessel walls.
What's the effect of natural sugar versus processed sugar on your body?
Well, let's think about it this way. Natural versus processed. Something that's processed, our body doesn't know what that is, so it doesn't know how to get rid of it. It doesn't know how to metabolize it. Something that's natural to our bodies.
It's going to be put in its right place.
Its right place. Our body knows where to put it.
So what happens when you, I'm missing my thought here, but my question is when you're eating, and I eat pretty much healthy food, and then I kind of go off a little bit, but I get right back on. But all foods turn to sugar, right, when you eat it? Or does it just turn into energy? I mean, how is that?
Well, it goes through that process. So it goes from, not all foods do, but our carbohydrates do.
Okay.
They break down into sugars, and then they break down into energy, and it's processed by the insulin in our own bodies. And what happens is over time, if we have too much sugar that our body can't process, it's too much for the pancreas, and then it stops producing insulin eventually. And so that's when people have to take insulin shots and things like that. And so in order to prevent that, we have to help our bodies regulate our sugars correctly. And we can't put all that stress on our bodies.
So setting a healthy eating goal is the goal that your position
Basically,
is?
yes. And so in our diabetes self-management program, we absolutely teach people, one, how to eat correctly, and then two, how to maintain that themselves. And so understanding the disease process, understanding how foods break down in your body, so then you go, wow, okay, now I know what's happening. And then we can direct you in what good food choices you can make when you're shopping, because a lot of people may think they're making good food choices, but they really don't know what a good food choice is.
So now maybe you can join me one day. I've already contacted the owner of a major market in the area, and they've given the go-ahead for us to come in with a crew. And because I find myself in the store and people will come up to me and say, hey, about the show. Or people will say, well, I'm picking out kale. For example, on the other show, we made baby kale,
which looks
watermelon,
delicious, by the way.
And that's Parmesan on top. But I actually like to do watermelon with red onions and feta cheese. It's absolutely delicious. And so I find myself giving advice on how to do this and that. So I contacted the corporation and said, hey, look, I'm in the store spending more hours than necessary by helping your shoppers pick the right things to eat. So saying that, quinoa is a protein and it's iron, right?
Correct. And it's high in fiber, which is a good thing.
And so in reference to brown rice, it's way up there.
It's way, yes.
And quinoa is up here and brown rice is down
here, right.
And it's the same with switching people out with wheat and white pasta, right?
Correct.
So what would you tell the viewers that they need to do? First thing.
The first thing that they need to do is go and look in their cabinets and look in their refrigerators. And after learning, just put out all those things that aren't good for you. And look in your refrigerator and see what is good for you. Think about what you're putting into your body. Look at your plate and see how you're positioning your plate. Do you have a lot of vegetables, or do you just have a few vegetables and a bunch of meat and a bunch of potatoes? And then looking up some good recipes, because there's really, especially with quinoa, you can make that with anything. You can make desserts, you can make it in salad, you can mix it with broths, and it tastes delicious.
I just do it with everything. I put cranberries in it, green onions, basil oil, and just eat it.
And it soaks up the flavor of everything.
Delicious.
So it's kind of better than rice because you're getting a lot more flavor out of what you're cooking.
And what's going on with the rice nowadays? I understand the cyanide in rice, especially the brown rice. Is that crazy or what?
It is. It's crazy, but it's
It's really,
you don't know because it's being prepared someplace else. So you're bringing it home, and then that's what you're putting into your body. So it's like you have to be careful now. Really, really careful.
You really have to be careful. And we have some treats. We have another guest coming up, and we're going to make us some really healthy treats. We're going to talk about diabetes and how it affects our bodies. Without further ado, we have Phyllis Thompson from Freedom 101. Come on in. Hey.
Good to see you again, Barbara.
We're cutting up in the kitchen with the girls today.
Yeah.
And tell us, Phyllis, I know we need more time, but gosh, you know, it's been about a year since you've been on the show.
Right.
And I've had all kind of people ask me, stop me, hey, when are you going to have that lady on again about diabetes?
Well, I'm glad to be here.
So it's really, really interesting how food affects us. And as I get older, I find that I can't do as much as I used. My mind is thinking I'm one age, but my body is saying, hey.
Tells us a different story.
Right, so I think we all have to kind of work on that and adjust. Isn't the whole key is to keep it moving?
Keep your body moving. You know, one of the programs that we also offer is a physical activity program. So physical activity along with nutrition will really help you with your diabetes. And I was listening to you and Lauren talk about nutrition, talking about the challenges and barriers. You know, why don't people, when they know this is happening to them, why don't they just stop? And I want to tell you a little story. We recently are doing a workshop, and our workshops are actually a medical model through the American Diabetes Association, and then we do another model through the Stanford University evidence-based model. But we find that we give a workbook out. This workbook looks like this, that actually when you come to the workshop, you can take this, you can actually take that. It's called Living Well with Diabetes. And so when you go through our workshop, which is 4 to 6 weeks, but it's 1 day a week for about 2 hours. And recently, matter of fact, in one of the workshops we're conducting now, one of the men, his wife came, his foot is amputated. And we work with mostly...
And was that a result of?
A result of diabetes. As a result of diabetes, and like I heard Lauren say, that it's over a period of time. Many times you don't feel that you're going to ever be on dialysis because your kidneys fail, or you get these pains in your leg, but you keep kind of going on, you get numbness, but when those arteries get clogged and the circulation cannot get through, or the operations don't work anymore, then at times the result is going to be amputation. And this man has been getting help for his diabetes, and you say, okay, well, he's been a diabetic for over 12 years. How could this happen? And after he went through our workshop, we went through what the insulin does, how it comes through the arteries, and when it doesn't come, enough does not come through, that's when you are a diabetic. Just, it's very simple. We give them this book so they can take it home. Also, we talk to them about stroke, you know, heart disease, all these things that as a nurse, you know, are, people think, well, they had a heart attack, but usually at the core was the diabetes. And many times, well, you see the #1 killer for African Americans is heart disease. But sometimes at the core of that is the diabetes.
Well, when you are dealing with diabetes, if you feel like you've had too much sugar, can you drink a lot of water? What can you do if you've had too much sugar?
I'll let the registered nurse handle that.
What can you do?
Water won't do anything because you're just diluting your blood, but you're not really excreting that sugar. So, because all it's doing is sticking to the vessel wall. So
Well, how do you get the sugar out?
The way to get the sugar out is, one, to burn energy. How do we burn energy? By exercising.
Okay.
Now, if you're an actual diabetic, then you can regulate it through medications. But the #1 way is, if you're a pre-diabetic and you notice that you're getting high blood sugars, control your diet, change the way that you're eating, but immediately exercise because you want to burn that energy. That's what we're eating those sugars for, is to expel that energy.
Because you got all this energy, so what you do, sit down
Just,
and watch TV?
you don't want to sit down and watch TV. You want to get outside, go for a 30-minute walk, go for a run if you can.
And that's great, but and with you,
I wanted to add one more thing. In our workshops, you need to know you can eat just about anything you want as a diabetic, but it's portion control. And you have to understand, with each meal, you can have between 35 to 60 carbohydrates per meal. And if you learn to read your labels, you know, I had yogurt this morning, and that yogurt told me how many actual carbs were there. So I know, and then I had a piece of toast, which was raisin toast, which is a little sweet, right? So I actually had about 28 carbs with my breakfast. So I still have room to have more with that meal. But if you're getting 2 slices of bread, right, and then you're deciding to put some sweet fruit in your yogurt, or you're going with the yogurt that's already got fruit in it, you're already pretty much over 60. But many times we don't know that, and as we think it's very difficult to manage that, but it's not. And what we try to teach, as we taught this man I was telling you about with the amputation, when he left the class, he said, I've had diabetes for 12 years. In the first workshop, he said, I've learned more today than I've ever learned in 12 years.
Is a shame.
Or I probably would not have had this amputation.
Well,
His wife
thank
was
God
in tears.
for you.
Yeah. So
But
we're
in your
really
organization,
pushing that out.
You provide a free service
Free
for people
service
who have
if-
Medicare, right?
Right, if they have Medicare.
That- I mean, that's
if they
it.
have
Medicare,
then
Medicare, guys.
You don't pay for anything. You can just call our office at 323-485-6900, and we will find a workshop near you. Now, we come to you as well. We do workshops in churches. We do workshops at medical facilities. We'll do them at senior housing sites. We primarily target seniors, 60 and over. But if you call us and you need to have one of these workshops, we'll be happy to come out to you. And as she's just saying, Barbara was just saying, your Medicare will take care of all of it. There's no payment out of your pocket.
That's a no-brainer.
And,
I
yes.
just don't understand. Can you guys come with me when we do the visit to the store?
Oh, I'd love
and
to.
that way, I'll have the experts, in addition to, sometimes they don't believe me because I'm not a registered nurse, but I have one right here, and we have an expert here. So just because we eat healthy and we try to do the right thing, and I fall off the wagon sometimes, and I noticed that I had hurt my knee, and my exercise had cut down tremendously, and I started to feel, I was feeling kind of crazy.
Right.
And I didn't know what crazy was because I didn't really know how to identify what was happening to me because I wasn't moving, and my legs kind of got a little out of shape. I wasn't happy about that, and my body was, I started to get like hot flashes. Yeah, okay, I'm at that age for hot flashes, but I thought it was from...
You don't know if it's something helped to, make that a little bit more...
It's really, I think that,
profound.
if you take care of yourself, we have such great examples of how beautiful and how well you can reserve your body if you just exercise.
It's simple, 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. If you're a senior and you can't move much, we have seniors that we do an arthritis exercise program with. And those seniors can exercise 10 minutes. You start where you're at. It's just do something. Have some. If you're just sitting there, you're in a walker or you're not able to move a lot, you can sit there and move your hands. If you can't walk, you modify that exercise. And you can sit in the chair. There's chair exercises.
There is.
So
and I had to do that. I had to kind of rehab, small baby steps.
Right.
And it's interesting. And don't be too proud, guys. Go ahead and get that help. If you have Medicare, go for it. Call her up. Get it done. It's no point in putting it off what you can get done today, tomorrow. Time is of essence, and it's not promised to any of us.
And it's changing your behaviors. That's the main thing. Having the tools to change your behaviors. Those skills that you need, you'll learn them in the workshops so that you don't need to be at the doctor. You'll know how to communicate with your doctor. You'll know what to do if you don't have the doctor. You're at home.
Well, while we're talking, come on, let's get in here. I have a Greek yogurt for you. I have one for me.
Okay.
And now this has fruit at the bottom. We don't need to use the fruit. So here's a couple of spoons, guys. So here, let's, you have a glass.
I have my
And
glass.
let's move our workshop book out. Now this is, if you guys want to, make sure you, if you want
give us a call.
if you want that, you can get it.
Yeah,
It's
give us
free.
a call. Remember, it's 323-485-6900. I'm also a master trainer for the Stanford University Chronic Disease and Diabetes Self-Management Program. So I train individuals to be able to deliver these programs. So if you have a group that would like to be trained, then contact us
And
as
that's
well and inquire
fantastic.
about that.
As a matter of fact, Phyllis, we're going to, the viewers, if any part of this that you miss, you can always catch us again we air in the morning and again at night, and then we're going to post this on YouTube. So what I like to do is just do a little yogurt at the bottom just to start with. I only like to eat it out of the cup if I'm driving, but if I'm at home, I want to do a little something special with it. So I'm gonna put a few little cranberries on mine in the bottom, and actually I'm gonna use a couple of watermelon cubes from here. I'm just gonna grab a piece and then I'm gonna cut it up. And
I think I'll use blueberries.
yeah, and so one of the things that I really wanted to discuss with you both, and I think we should do it as a team, because I often wonder who was going to help me when I go into a liquor store in South Central and show you
Now
how
she's got me. She's got me on the show, so I have to commit.
Yeah, okay, I can show you. We all can go into a liquor store and show you how to select the right things to eat. I don't care where you're at.
You can find.
You can find.
Yeah,
I mean, in the
healthy
liquor store,
Right.
if it was me,
Right.
I can go in the liquor store, instead of chips, I can get Sun Chips. There's sardines in the can, right? There's mackerel in the can. There's eggs. There's
Tuna.
There's even soup. Now, I know we have to watch soup, but there's certain things in a can
that you can
That you
eat.
can use.
that you can eat. Now, I did a show, 25 must-haves at all times to keep in your pantry. And one of them was canned salmon, canned black beans for emergencies. That way you can go to quickly.
And get your protein.
Exactly.
And your fiber, all those things.
And so, you know, it's kind of interesting. I got a little dried pineapple I'm going to put on the top.
Well, I'll tell you something that we do while you're doing that, Barbara, is we sometimes take our seniors to those healthy food stores. Because many of them have not shopped, because we do a lot of work in South LA, past Avalon. I don't know if you know those areas, but we do a lot of work in the low-income areas. And many times the stores there are just maybe the basic stores, or the stores that don't have quite fresh food. You won't see the more high-end healthy food stores in that part of town. So many times what we will do is we'll take a group and we'll get transportation and take them with us, because they've never shopped in stores that actually have all this healthy food.
That is so unbelievable.
And give you samples of the healthy food.
And it's
And then
affordable.
it's affordable for them. And then they think they wouldn't like it. And then when they taste it, when I made greens for them with turkey neck, they thought they had to have ham hocks, you got to have pork in there. But when they actually had it, I didn't tell them what was in there. Gave them a little bit of that. And this is great. So it's just learning, it's changing behaviors. That's why you can actually do it instead of having someone here, okay, do this, don't eat that. You go home. You need to be able to have those tools, and the workshops we have.
It teaches that self-advocacy.
It teaches you how to do everything from communicate to your doctor, writing everything down, to actually being able to go into the stores and know where you find everything, which is outside, not on the inside house. On the outside is where your vegetables, your fruits are, those types of things.
Because the inside owls are traps.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
They're
that's
processed
you
foods.
can't go to the store hungry, guys. You just can't do it.
Right.
You have to
You're right.
really eat before you go in the store.
Right. And I do that when I go out sometimes. I'll eat before I go out, because I go to a lot of events. Or
And you don't want to overeat.
And they usually will have something that I can't eat, because it's set up as an event and they've already selected the food. And if I'm doing the health things, they're usually health conscious, but many times they have dessert, so I know I need to eat before I go. So I'll just stick to my salads.
Okay, I have one question. And it's pertaining to me and probably a whole lot of other people. If I want to have my biggest meal of the day.
What's the best time?
Right.
Lunchtime is the best time for your biggest meal of the day. And then dinner, you want to try to have a small dinner and try to eat before 7 o'clock.
That is the hardest thing for me. If I went to Oh Happy Days. It's a place in Altadena.
I've heard of it.
And so John, we actually did that show on location, and I confessed to him, I psychologically I need something at night
To munch on. And if you're going to munch on something, then munch on something that's a low calorie.
Cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe is good.
But watermelon is
watermelon
good, but you got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, because it has all the fiber.
Yeah,
which
or
is
you can do
good.
things
No, I
like
mean
celery.
pea,
You
not
can
number
do,
two, huh?
because
yeah, you
of the
can do things
water.
like celery. You can do things
Yeah,
like
celery's
carrots.
good and crunchy.
Yeah, you
but
can do crunchy
you
type things.
know,
Make your own yogurt dressing so it gets it a little flared because we like to have something to dip everything in.
I do the
But-
hummus. I've been really good.
Yeah.
I've been really good, but like, you know, I straight get
And
the
then
munchies.
remember this, portion. There's
Yeah.
nothing diabetics can't have. If you come to our workshops, you'll learn that. Portion. So if you wanted to have popcorn, which you know you can only have so much if you're diabetic, and that's one of the things we all love, and we have these folks tell us, well, you can have as much because it's healthy. No, remember how many carbohydrates are in 4 cups. And if the 4 cups might not be that big bowl you grew up with, eating.
Okay,
So-
the thing is really,
It's your portion
the thing
control.
is training yourself,
But
right?
having the
Exactly.
knowledge first. You have to have the knowledge first.
So
You have to
but
have-
wait a
no.
minute.
So-
I'm
Once you
teetering.
attain to change behaviors is what you're talking about.
So do you
have to change.
recommend soup in the place of a meal during
I-
the day? If you can get a soup to replace one of the meals.
But you
Well,
have-
you can still snack.
On
So it's
soup?
not, yeah. So it's not saying, oh, you need to just have your 3 meals a day, stick to that 3 meals a day. Don't eat anything
No, no,
outside
snacks
of
is
that.
very
so
important.
snacks
I
is
eat
very
all day.
important.
6
Yeah.
meals include their
Yeah, and you can have soup, but this is the thing about soup. Like I had one patient one time that had congestive heart failure, and with congestive heart failure, you have to watch your sodium. And she thought she was eating so healthy because she was on a soup diet.
But it was canned soup.
It was Campbell's soup, and with that Campbell's soup, it's full of sodium.
Can't do that.
So you gotta watch what you're putting in, and you have to look at the labels. Try getting healthy soups, organic soups that are like tomato
Imagine has a
basil
good
or.
soup. Imagine has a good soup.
Well,
It's
you
highly
know what,
recommended
guys,
by
we have a
nutritionists.
really good. I've done it on the show. We're coming up to the end of the show, but
yes.
I would like to say, if you can say one thing, what would you tell everyone? Both of you guys, what would you tell? What would you say?
I would say come to a workshop, or if there's something in your area that offers either the Living Well with Diabetes and gives you 4 weeks, or the Diabetes Self-Management through the evidence-based Stafford model. First, get your tools. Learn how to do your action plan. Then you have a buddy you call. After a while, you'll notice those behaviors change. I have people 2 years from now, they still had their action plan. I need to drink water 3 times a week, or I need to eat more vegetables. 75% of your plate should be vegetables, right?
Right.
And fruit. And the rest should be what? Your protein, if you're having
Okay,
your protein.
Lauren, give it to us. We got 2 seconds.
I would just say, remember that your life is important. So since we value our lives and our lives are important, do the steps that you need to ensure that you have a great quality of life.
Okay, guys, you heard it from these experts. Hey, I'm just here to confirm it.